Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by this video, which is all about film photography. Film photography is something that I've gotten into in the last few months. It's a completely new thing to me, and I thought I would make a video just sharing my expectations going into film photography and what the reality of shooting my first roll of film was like. So if you're into film photography, or if you're just looking to get started and you want some pointers, maybe some things to look out for, then this video is going to be for you. So if you are new to the channel, my name is Chris Harvey. I'm a professional photographer, videographer, and I spend most of my life with a camera in my hand. And most of the photos that I take are digital because they're all for commercial projects, which means that I'm rarely actually doing photography as a hobby, which is something that made me quite sad because when you get into any art form, you do it for the love and for the passion of it, and that's something that I started to lose when I was just thinking about client work all the time. So I was having a bit of a dilemma. I was thinking about ways that I could fall in love with photography again and do it in a way that didn't feel like work. And for me, film photography seemed like the perfect option. We'll go into this a little bit more in the video, but what I was hoping would happen when I got into shooting film, I was just hoping that I would slow down a lot more. With my digital camera, it's so easy to just fire off a million shots and then just go to your computer and put your SD card in, and you've got hundreds of options of the same photo that you can choose and edit to your heart's content. And that's amazing, but really, I wanted to have an experience that was completely different from that. And that's what film offers me. It's much more methodical. It's much more involved in terms of the settings on the camera. And you do have to be really considerate about what you're shooting because, man, film is expensive. Developing film is even more expensive. So with all of that cost outlay, you want to make sure that the photos that you're taking are going to be really worthwhile and valuable. But more on that a bit later on, because first of all I want to talk about the gear and the cameras, because this is often, I think, especially for me, this is something that I was researching a lot when I went into this, trying to figure out what camera to buy. And there are just so many options, especially when you go down the SLR route. You know, all of the old 35mm film cameras are all kind of essentially the same. So how do you know what to buy? So I actually ended up buying two film cameras. The first one that I bought was this guy, this little Olympus XA3, which is just a point and shoot film camera. I picked it up off Facebook Marketplace for, I think it was around £35. So I don't know, $40, $50, something like that. And the guy who sold it didn't really know much about it. He said that the last time that he used it 10 years ago, it worked. But I thought for £30, you know, I'll take a punt. You got to be in it to win it, right? So I actually bought this camera, shot a roll of film, and the film came back blank. So technically my first roll of film never actually transpired, but it's more of an issue with the camera than with me, I think. So I quickly put this to one side. I'm still going to keep it and maybe see if I can fix it. It's probably an issue with the shutter because these old Olympus point and shoots, the shutter button is just really plasticky and, you know, not great. So yeah, maybe I can revive it. But I did then end up buying an SLR camera, again, off of Facebook Marketplace. I mean, who would have thought, right? Facebook being the place to buy film cameras. And I ended up buying this camera, which is the Minolta X700, which for anyone who is looking to get into film photography is one of the cameras that is always recommended. And you know what? I'm really, really happy with this. It's really, really clean. It's like it's never been used. The guy who sold it to me said that the camera belonged to his dad, who bought it brand new in the 80s and sort of took it on a couple of holidays, but then it pretty much lived in the box ever since. So, you know, the film loading is really smooth. You know, cosmetically, it's just really great. So this is actually the camera that I successfully shot my first roll of film on. So let's get into some of these shots. So all the photos that you've seen were shot in aperture priority mode. So really straightforward with all of the SLR cameras is you can just literally set your aperture and then the camera is going to figure out the shutter speed. So you don't really need to worry about any of that, which when you're just starting out is definitely something that is really valuable because it just allows you to focus on composition more than anything else, which is absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to happen. The film stock I chose for this particular role was Kodak Ektar 100. It was just a random purchase. You know, I didn't really know what film I liked or what the results were going to be. And with it being my first role, the last thing I wanted to do was spend all that money on a roll of Portrait 400, only to find out that there was something wrong with me or the camera. So I went with Ektar 100, but it's a film that I actually really like. So yeah, that's what I was working with, and I'm pretty happy with the results. The Minolta is the camera that I've been taking around day to day for the last couple of months. It's just the camera that comes with me on days out, on trips, and it's great. I just fire off a frame and then I don't think about it until I get the roll developed, which could be weeks later. And that's really good because it just enables you to live in the moment. With my Sony a7 III, which is what I'm filming this video on, it's just so easy to be looking at your camera all the time because there are just countless photos that can be taken. But with this, especially with those Kodak films, you've only got 36 exposures. So those shots, they're all very costly, so it slows you down. You don't end up taking as many photos, which means you have more time to enjoy the places that you end up with your camera. So it's been a great experience. Don't get me wrong, there are certain things that are a bit tricky. Loading film for the first time is something that was a little bit fiddly, but is actually not too bad. After that first roll, for the next, I think, 3 rolls I've shot so far, every single one became easier and easier to load, so no issues with that. I would say buying a camera that is film tested is going to be really important and is the quickest way to make sure that you're going to get up and running shooting as quickly as possible, because the mistake that I made when I bought that Olympus off of Facebook was I just really put my faith in the seller being genuine in terms of saying that the camera worked. And I'm sure that he was, but a lot of these old cameras just sit in closets for years, so there's no real way of telling whether they work or not. So I'm going to basically just urge you all to make sure, if you're on eBay or if you're on Facebook or wherever you're going to go looking for cameras, just make sure that you find one that is tested, because that's just going to immediately get you off on the right foot. So in short, shooting film has definitely enabled me to fall in love with photography again, especially in a much more hobbyist kind of way. It's just great to capture all of these memories. I'm obviously a massively visual person. Visuals things provide a lot of nostalgia for me. I love to look back at old photographs, and the quality and the certain look that film has just means when I am looking back at even trips that I did a few weeks ago, it's just really great to have those memories captured in a way that just looks really beautiful, in my opinion. So it's definitely something that I think you should all try. Like I said, there are just certain things that you do need to be aware of, and I do want to make more videos in this particular topic as my film photography journey continues and I start to learn more, because there is a massive learning curve. I have so much to learn. I want to get into potentially developing and scanning film at home, but for now it's just something that is way too much to think about. So for the film that you've seen today, I used the Take It Easy film lab that are based in the UK up in Leeds. So if any of you are watching who are based in the UK, then that's definitely a lab that I would recommend. They're not sponsoring this video or paying me to say this. I'm just giving you guys some options. So yeah, go and check those guys out. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.